The Universality of Islam Part 4. Universality and Tolerance. 5. Islam in Europe. To realize the standards and ethics that the Western world order is built upon, one must ponder on Huntington's response in the Foreign Affairs regarding the Muslims' accusation of the Western world order as being biased and applying double standards. A world of clashing civilizations, however, is inevitably a world of double standards. People apply one standard to their kin countries and a different standard to others. Such double standards applied by the Western world, the surrogate father of the New World Order, against the Muslims in Bosnia, Palestine, Chechnya, Azerbaijan and many other places all over the world are clear indicators of the Western unjust treatment of other, non-Christian societies, including the Muslims. As a matter of fact, it was the Vatican headed by the Pope who was determined to provide strong backing to the oppressing Catholic country in the Bosnia conflict, Croatia. Hence, according to Huntington, the Vatican extended recognition even before the European community. Capricious actions against hundreds of thousands of oppressed people who went through vicious genocides and experienced unheard-of atrocities of rape in the human history were carelessly dealt with by countries carrying the banners of the New World Order. Think it is one of the greatest tragedies and shame written with the blood of innocent people in the memory of history for generations of Muslims and peace-loving people to remember. Especially, when compared with the Islamic system of justice and tolerance that does not allow treating even one's enemies with injustice. Islam is innocent from any malpractices that may be committed by ignorant Muslims, even if they claim that they are doing them in the name of Islam. Islam does not allow treating even one's enemies with injustice. Islam is innocent from any malpractices that may be committed by ignorant Muslims, even if they claim that they are doing them in the name of Islam. 6. Islam in the Indian subcontinent. Islam was firstly introduced into the Indian subcontinent during the 7th century, and the Muslim dominance continued over India under the succeeding states until the British invasion in 1857. Lasting for more than 1,100 years. Had the Christian method of inquisition and conversion at the point of the gun been practiced, not a single Hindu would have been seen alive by the advent of the British colonialists to India. However, the Islamic tolerance and understanding of the nature of man manifested itself in India. In the Qur'an, Allah has clearly declared tolerance to be an essential ethical principle for mankind to follow. Islam came to India as well as to other parts of the world to transcend and elevate humanity above racism, ignorance, superstitions, and injustice. Therefore, there was no need for forced conversion to the true religion of God. It is basically up to people to use the intellect with which God has bestowed upon them and make their choice. This is the reason as to why hundreds of thousands of people keep reverting to Islam as soon as they find out the truth about it. People embrace Islam by their own free will and without any seduction or compulsion. Many among them are scientists, politicians, lawyers, evangelists, and even people of fame. Cat Stevens, now Yusuf Islam, the former famous pop singer, M. Hoffman, the German ambassador to Morocco, who has recently written an eye-opening book titled, Islam is the Alternative. Maurice Bucaille, the well-known French scientist who accepted Islam after his long research in science and religion that is summarized in his book, The Bible, the Qur'an and Science. Mr. Olsen, the current Danish ambassador to Saudi Arabia who if the people know the reality of Mr. Olsen, the current Danish ambassador to Saudi Arabia who declared in a radio interview that if the people know the reality of Islam, millions will embrace it. The list of those who have sought the truth of Islam is too long to be mentioned here. It includes people from all walks of life. 7. Tolerance of Islam. When defining one of its important aspects, Islam means complete submission to Allah by choice and conviction, not through seduction or compulsion. Islam accommodates and welcomes all people as brothers and sisters regardless of their distinctive particular affiliations or backgrounds. The Islamic attitude towards the followers of other religions is not only to show tolerance towards their beliefs, but also to affirm a non-negotiable Islamic principle of tolerance and religious responsibility. There is no compulsion in accepting religion. The right course has become clear from error. So whoever disbelieves in Taghut, i.e. false deities, and believes in Allah has grasped the trustworthy handhold with no break in it. And Allah is hearing and knowing. The Quran 256. In fact, through the course of history of Islam, it has granted the people of other faiths the highest degree of tolerance by allowing them to follow their way, although some of their practices might have been in conflict with the religion of the majority. It was this degree of tolerance that the Muslims adopted towards their non-Muslim citizens. There is another aspect of this matter which cannot be found in the written laws, nor can it be enforced by courts or the governments. This is the spirit of tolerance which underlies upright attitudes, benevolent dealings, respect for one's neighbors, and all the sincere sentiments of piety, compassion, and courtesy. Execution and report of such attitudes are required of every Muslim and cannot be obtained through constitutional legislation or court jurisdiction. The spirit of tolerance which can only be found in Islam is exclusively practiced in a true Islamic society. Many Quranic verses have emphasized dealings with non-Muslims with justice and respect, especially those who live in peace with the Muslims and do not raise enmity against them. Allah does not forbid you concerning those who do not fight you because of religion and do not expel you from your homes from being righteous towards them and acting justly towards them. Indeed, Allah loves those who act justly. The Quran 60:8. And they give food in spite of their love for it to the poor, the orphan, and the captive, saying, we feed you only for the acceptance of Allah. We wish neither from you reward nor gratitude. The Quran 76:8-9. Although Muslims might disagree with other ideological systems and religious dogmas, it should not prevent them from demonstrating the correct manner of discussion and interaction with non-Muslims. And do not argue with the people of the Scripture except in a way that is best, and do not argue with the people of the Scripture except in a way that is best. Except for those who commit injustice among them, and say we believe in that which has been revealed to us and revealed to you, and our God and your God is one. And we are Muslims, in submission to Him. The Quran 76:8-9. In this context it seems appropriate to raise the question, is tolerance of other religions as preached by Islam a matter left to the Muslims to decide about? As a matter of fact, tolerance in Islam has ideological basis in the Quran and the teachings of Prophet Muhammad, and it is not subject to any human interference. Therefore, it is a constant Islamic principle that does not change over time or place. According to the Quran, every human being is to be honored as Allah has honored him her. And we have certainly honored the children of Adam, and carried them on the land and sea and provided for them of the good things and preferred them over much of what we have created with definite preference. The Quran 17 hours 70 minutes. Islam is the final revelation of Allah the Almighty, and it is the religion of universal truth for all mankind. All of its doctrines can withstand any challenge. Therefore, the existence of various religions, man-made or supposedly revealed religions, is only to allow the human intellect to choose. The following verses of the Quran emphasize these principles. Allah witnesses that there is no deity except Him, and, so do, the angels and those of knowledge, that He is, maintaining, creation, in justice. There is no deity except Him, the exalted in might, the wise. Indeed, the religion in the sight of Allah is Islam. And those who were given the scripture did not differ except after knowledge had come to them, out of jealous animosity between themselves, and whoever disbelieves in the verses of Allah, then indeed Allah is swift in taking account. 55, the Quran 3:18-19, and had your Lord willed, those on earth would have believed, all of them entirely. Then will you compel the people until they become believers? The Quran 10:99. In Islam, injustice is regarded as one of the greatest sins. Therefore, oppressing people because they have different beliefs is rejected. Prophet Muhammad, PBUH, said, the supplication of an oppressed person, even though he be a pagan, is heard, by Allah, directly, without any veil. 56. 8. Concluding remarks. To sum it up, intolerance has been a permanent practice of those in power represents Judaism, Christianity and Hinduism, and sometimes indoctrinated in their scriptures. They either shut off a segment of humanity or bring it in simply to persecute it. To be killed or converted was, at least until recently, the only choice confronting non-Christians in a Christian society or non-Hindus in a Hindu society. People of different religions have lived in prosperity and enjoyed the freedom to practice their faith. Some even sought asylum to escape religious persecution, as in the case of the Jews of Spain. Misery of people in the form of poverty or illness is invested upon to change the belief of others. Stephen Neal has illustrated the scope of such inhumane monopoly of people's suffering by saying, "It was often a short period of the arrival of the missionary Lavigere to Algeria that cholera widespread, as a result of which a famine took place. He was able to collect 1,800 orphan children after he had received permission from the French authorities to convert them to Christianity. Then provide them with Christian education in some settlements that were labeled the Christian Villegas. Such steps encouraged other missionaries in other countries to do just the same. They started by buying children as slaves, and then gathered them in Christian settlements." Neal continues talking about such incidents, supporting his arguments by statistics of buying the souls as well as the beliefs of needy people by saying, "This process, buying children and Christianizing them, has succeeded to the exact that some missionaries by the year 1902 were able to establish in one area 250 farms containing 5,000 salve children." Sigrid Hunk, the great German philosopher and historian, referred in her book Allah ist ganz anders to part of the letter that Oliverus, the theological philosopher who wrote a letter in 1221 to Salahuddin, expressing his deep appreciation to the noble treatment the captured Crusader soldiers received after their defeat in the Battle of Hittin by writing, "For centuries, nobody has heard of such mercy and generosity, especially towards a brutal enemy's prisoners of war. When God decreed that we should fall at your hands, we did not see in you a ruthless tyrant. Instead, we knew you as merciful Father who showered us with his kindness and bounties as well as a supporter in hard times. And who would doubt that such generosity and tolerance was from Allah? The men that we have killed their parents, sons, daughters, brothers and sisters, and made them taste the most cruel torture, when we became their prisoners and we were about to die out of hunger, they treated us in the best way possible and preferred us over themselves. They did so while we were helpless and powerless." Hunk went on to report some of the most unimaginable atrocities that the Crusaders have done against the Muslim civilians in Palestine. One of these incidents was when King Richard, the Lion's Heart, dishonored his reputation in the most demeaning way when he violated his oath to 3,000 Muslim prisoners and ordered them to be slaughtered. The French king did the same. Provided to the reader below is a segment of an article which has been written by one of the prominent American thinkers, Professor John L. Esposito, in which he summarized the tolerance of Islam and Muslims during the peak of their power. Christians and Jews were regarded as people of the book, those who had possessed a scripture, revelation from God, in exchange for allegiance to the state and payment of a poll tax. These protected, dhimmi peoples could practice their faith and be governed by their religious leaders and law in matters of faith and private life, family laws. Prince Charles was very candid in his speech about Islam and the West at the Oxford Center for Islamic Studies when he said, "Medieval Islam was a religion of remarkable tolerance for its time, allowing Jews and Christians the right to practice their inherited beliefs and setting an example which was not, unfortunately, copied for many centuries in the West. Thus, Islam has proven to be more tolerant than the imperial Christianity, providing greater religious freedom for Jews and Christians. Most local Christian churches had been persecuted as schismatics heretics by a foreign Christian orthodoxy. Islam as a universal system tolerates peoples of different religious backgrounds and protects the rights of its diverse subjects against oppression and discrimination. At the same time, it emphasizes that it is the only absolute truth with ample objective and logical evidence." Tritton expressed his opinion regarding this very great attribute of tolerance in Islam by saying, "The picture of the Muslim soldier advancing with a sword in one hand and the Qur'an in the other is quite false. Only Islam preaches and practices tolerance as part of its fundamental teachings that allows no second interpretation. Regardless of any deviation in part of the Muslims at any time in history, which is seldom, the word of the Creator will always prevail." Through the many random examples of Islamic tolerance I selected from the writings of mostly non-Muslim writers, Islam has manifested an unparalleled form of tolerance. At a time when it asserts that it is the only system that contains the full truth as revealed and kept intact in the real words of the Creator, the Qur'an. This tolerance in the human sphere has allowed Islam to extend open-mindedness to the intellectual sphere, the topic of my next section.